Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Kyle.
Marley.
And this is our review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows.
Woo!
Yes, we're super excited for it. Because I am. I mean, you might not be, but I am super excited for it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows. We are going to give you the good and the bad and our score at the and the ugly, our score at the end. Okay. We're currently on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics have this at
34%.
And the fans have it at
59%.
Oh, those are both low numbers.
Pretty low.
Those are both, I guess
at least they're closer than other movies. The fan and Rotten Tomatoes together. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because some movies have a higher gap. Like Warcraft had a pretty high gap.
We haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see Warcraft.
I haven't seen it either.
That'll be a fun review to do.
Whoa.
But yeah, but this gap isn't very big, but it's still really low.
Yeah,
both of them.
it's pretty. But I got my Ninja Turtle shirt sporting today, so this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, we'll see if the green screen will, that'll be taken out.
Stuff happens.
I mean, it's green. All right, so let's start with the good. Marley, what'd you like about this film?
It was better than the first one. That's the good for me. I mean, I got more.
To be fair, that's not saying much, but
no.
Yes.
I got more used to Megan Fox's April. First one, I didn't believe her that much. This one, a smaller step up than the first one.
I will agree with that. I think, but maybe it's because they used her less in this movie.
Yeah, probably.
And they focused more on the turtles.
And they didn't give her such big words to say.
That's true.
In the first one, okay, does anyone remember in the first one when she's interviewing the construction worker and she's like, the science stuff, she's talking about science stuff, she's like, the thermonuclear, blah, 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 blah. She's talking, and I'm like, she doesn't know those words. She doesn't understand them.
That's at least the 14th take of her trying to say that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Megan Fox, if you're watching.
Stuff happens.
But yeah, okay, so the good. Absolutely. Megan Fox was a lot better in this movie than she was in the first one, probably because they toned her down a bit and didn't make her an essential part of the storyline. For example, making her the one who owned the turtles when she was little, that her father was a scientist, that she named the turtles. It was more about the humans in the first one. This one was more about the turtles, which was a good one. And that's exactly what you needed in this movie. This was focus on the turtles. And the turtles, whether you like their designs or not, they are the best part of this movie was the actual four brothers, the four turtles. They were really good, and as someone who's watched the 90s cartoon, and that's what I grew up on, was the 90s cartoon, they did a really, really good job of capturing their personalities, and also there was some emotional things that happened in this movie. So the turtles, huge plus.
Yeah, it was a step up.
Also a big plus. I love Will Arnett. I think he's super funny.
Yeah, he's really funny. Especially
but they toned him down a little bit in this one too.
Yeah, they toned him down because they didn't show him as much. I don't think his personality's toned down that much because he's still the big character.
Right, he is. And I feel like they're not giving him much to work with, but Will Arnett is doing his best to basically to do what he needs to do to be.
Basically in the first one and in this one less so because Stephen Amell's in it too. But in the first one, you paired him with Megan Fox. Megan Fox is not giving him much to work with. No. And he's carrying it all on his own.
Right.
He's doing it.
Another good in this movie.
Stephen Amell.
Mm-hmm.
No, hold on. Let me finish. I watch Arrow. I like Arrow. I like Stephen Amell. I think Stephen Amell should have had longer hair in this.
Yes. He's Casey Jones. Casey Jones has long hair.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's got to have long hair.
All of you Arrow watchers out there, before he became the Arrow, and when he first went on to Lian Yu, and he had the long locks like that, not when he was on it, when he had the beard and everything, but when he had the long locks.
I'm lost.
Those looked good, because he looked like the playboy in it, but those are the locks that I picture for Casey Jones.
Right.
But also...
And he didn't have it.
Yeah, he didn't have it.
But that's not bad. Good. What else is good?
No, I think that could have been good, so I
gotcha.
put it under good.
Yeah, Stephen Amell was serviceable as Casey Jones.
Yeah.
He also didn't have a lot of time, but okay. So
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. Another good thing, Bebop and Rocksteady. I thought were so good. The actors who played them, Sheamus from wrestling, and I'm blanking on the other guy. Oh, it's all right here. Gary Anthony Williams. such a good job in their human forms, and then they actually look like they translated to like their characters, which were really good. And this is the first time we got a Bebop and a Rocksteady on screen, and they were main, dopey thug villains from the cartoon, and they were so good. I can't, and they were my favorite part of this movie is when they were on screen.
Like, you knew you were gonna laugh, and like it was funny.
Some of it was kind of like corny a little bit, right?
But it was more
good.
corny because this one is more focused towards the kids.
That's the key word for this movie, is that this one was more focused. The first movie had it was part drama, part kind of campy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and 90s cartoon.
They were trying to appeal to like kind of all audiences, I think.
Yeah, and that didn't work. Yeah, they just need to pick one side or the other. Yeah. Are you going to go for campy, or are you going to go for more gritty, really like realism? Yeah. And they went campy in this one.
I thought it was good.
I thought it was great.
A good choice.
It was that was the perfect choice to go with this, because come on. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just the concept of that is it's funny. So bizarre.
You have to go campy, because in the first one they tried to appeal to I think the Turtles tried to appeal to a younger audience for the kids, and I think Megan Fox and Will Arnett tried to appeal to the older audiences.
More mature audience.
Yeah. So I think they tried to go all around in that. But I think this one, since you toned down the people more, so Megan Fox and Will Arnett,
focus on the Turtles.
Focus on the Turtles. It's more towards a kid's perspective, but it's nothing that adults couldn't enjoy too.
Right.
If you like the Ninja Turtles.
But there was so much if you watch the 90s cartoon, there was so much fan service in this movie. And they redid Shredder. They didn't make him, Shreddertron. They made him like an actual person with armor and that. And that was a much better choice to go with it in this one. But Shredder wasn't really the main villain. He was kind of the villain, right? But he kind of wasn't the main villain.
He looked like the puppet for the bigger villain, which was someone. There was a bigger villain, and if you saw the trailers, you know who we're talking about. So we'll leave it.
We'll leave it at that. However, going to the bad part of this movie now.
We're in the bad now.
That was the bad thing about this movie. The third act was so anticlimactic. In the first movie you had, they were fighting a robot on the top of a roof. They were fighting Shredder, decked out in armor on top of a roof. This was pretty much the same ending as the first one, was it not?
Yeah.
But the way you got there was so much more enjoyable in this movie than it was in the last one.
I liked the journey better than the climax itself.
Yeah, I think the third act in this one sort of just cut off the legs of it was disappointing. I think the best way to say it.
I think that the fighting,
it wasn't terrible, but
it wasn't terrible.
It just was disappointing.
It was more. I don't think it was more of the fighting as it was of the brothers bonding and them coming together as a team and as a family, and like learning to respect and work with each other, rather than them fighting a bigger threat, a bigger villain. You
know what this movie and the first movie had in common too?
Turtles.
Fart jokes.
Oh.
There were some fart jokes. You can't get around those fart jokes, I guess. You got to have them in there. But yeah, so that also on the bad side for me, the story wasn't that great, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a by the numbers sort of story. It wasn't super in depth. And some of it like almost came out of left field, right? There's a section toward the beginning of the movie where Shredder sort of gets out of he escapes custody, in the very beginning, and the way he escapes custody
it was
bizarre.
We need him to get out, and like this is the idea we have, like we're gonna throw this in there.
Yeah,
that it wasn't explained at all. I mean, it was more explained towards after it happened, but when it happened, you're like, we're in Supernatural. This is a different universe.
It seems like a different universe. Yeah. It seems like two different things colliding.
It'd be like Christopher Nolan's Batman meeting the Man of Steel, which is Henry Cavill. You'd be like, this doesn't belong in the same place.
And you work so hard to ground yourself in reality that like, these turtles are part of genetic experimentations, and that's how they became turtles.
Yeah.
And then I understand that this movie basically, said, let's get away from that and let's go to the more campy stuff.
Yeah.
But then like it's so campy that it's jarring a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost so out of left field, and something like, wow, this was not the world you built in the first one.
Yeah.
It worked better for this movie, don't get me wrong, but it is a little jarring when you first see it.
Yeah.
And especially the villain at the end, our main villain, I feel he was the worst part of this movie, and he was done so terribly.
He bothered me when he was on screen.
Yeah,
I was like, can you do a cutscene, please? I don't want to see it.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it.
And your villain, especially that specific villain, you want that to be the thing where you look on screen, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to see what your master plan is and all that kind of stuff, and what you're doing. And he was on screen very little. And it wasn't satisfying. It was
the kid
such
version.
a cartoon.
It was a kid version.
It was such a cartoon.
Villain.
And there were some like emotionally heavy moments. That's the one. Heavy moments in this movie. The turtles trying to decide, should they be accepted or should they not be accepted? Should we do things so we seem more accepted? Should we do things so we lay back in the shadows? It's literally called Out of the Shadows for a reason.
I have a qualm.
Shoot.
I like the word qualm now.
Word of the day.
Oh, I have to find out a non-spoiler version of this. When certain events happen and the reactions of certain people, I think, are over the top. I feel like this is gonna. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think that in daily life, if you see this happen and your automatic response is gonna be like, oh my god, ew. Like you're not gonna. This is hard to say without giving it away.
We might do a spoiler talk on it.
Yeah. I don't like the reaction that some of it played off because I don't think that's realistic.
I don't like the reaction of some of the people involved.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And it really doesn't seem realistic at all.
Because you're going to be more...
They also introduced a police chief, too, who I wasn't really too happy about the police chief.
Yeah, I wasn't... I think some of her reactions that she had was more negative when I think they should have been more also, starstruck.
Making Casey Jones an ex-cop?
Yeah.
That's, I believe, and I could be wrong, but that seems like that's new to the series, and I don't remember that from the cartoon at all. That seems new.
Also, for Casey Jones, I love Stephen Amell. Big fan.
Yeah, you've said that already.
Yeah. But the Casey Jones that he plays, and I don't think it's necessarily maybe his fault. I think it might have been the direction he was giving, but I don't like the way he portrayed it that much.
No, I agree.
Because he was like ecstatic and over the top, and everything he did was like had so much character to it, and I'm like, can we take it down 3 notches?
That's the thing is in the original '90s movie, right? Casey Jones is sort of the loner.
Yeah,
and,
he's like
Raphael,
the mysterious.
And Raphael is the loner. Raphael is the loner, and they sort of find common ground in both being like apart and being jerks to each other.
You feel like he gets along more with maybe like other brothers instead of Raphael,
which is weird.
Which maybe more like of a in between Michelangelo and Donatello ground.
And the one other thing is there is sort of some manufactured brother rivalry in this that I thought was settled in the last one. But it's like you can't have a Turtles movie without Raphael and Leonardo butting heads, or like the brothers splitting into 2-on-2.
I think it's funny because what I'm gonna compare that with, I don't think people are gonna. High School Musical. At the end of every movie, Sharpay was fine with them. But you know what I mean. Like the main villain, like she's fine with them
until the next movie. Then she's the villain,
where she hates them, and then that movie they're fine, and then the next movie they're villains again.
I think you're absolutely right. Okay, so there's our good, there's our bad takeaway from it, without being too spoilery.
The ugly.
The ugly
That's
is that
what we call the reviews.
The ugly is that this got a 34% by the critics, and this got a 59% by the fans. Marley, who got this right? Was it a 34%? Was it a 50%? And what would be the score that you would give it?
I think the critics and the fans should have found an equal middle ground.
Really?
I think it should be a little less than 50%, but I think it should be more than 34%. I am in the middle in this, so I'd give it a good 48, something like that, because I think the critics are going in there to nitpick things, so obviously things that they might have qualms about, I'm not going to have qualms about. But the fans, I think they tried to give it hope because they're like, it's Ninja Turtles, we have to be a fan of this, we have to try to save a little bit of it. But it went more towards the kids route, which you gotta choose sometimes which route you gotta go, and I think they figured they're gonna make more money the kids route, so they went that way. So I think I'm in the middle ground because I wouldn't see it again in theaters. If one of my brothers, I wouldn't go out of my way to get on Redbox. I haven't seen the first one again. I only saw it once. I didn't want to see it again.
So
So
I would say
if someone got it though and they're like, oh, I'm watching Ninja Turtles 2 right now, do you want to watch it with me? I'd be like, well, do you have food? If you have food, I'd watch it.
I actually think that 59% is like a good score for it. I would give it a little bit higher. I would give it a 62%. I watched the cartoon growing up.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Well, that's
If and that's what I think.
born for
If you're a
it,
fan of Ninja Turtles, you are getting so much fan service, including Baxter Stockman, played by Tyler Perry in this movie too.
Oh yeah, that was. He was a funny, weird character.
Yeah, he was. I wonder if they're gonna do a third one. He'll be more involved in the third one or not. But I would give it a 62%. So I think the fans got closer to getting it right.
I think the fans were closer, but I think the critics weren't far off. Also, if that makes sense.
That's your opinion. But
Stuff
you guys
happens.
tell us your opinion. Did you guys like the movie? Where would you guys rate it on the 0 to 100% scale?
Yeah.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe on this video.
Follow us on Snapchat.
Follow us on Snapchat.
Stuff happens.
That you have to see.
Yeah. You can't die without seeing it.
Wow, that's dark. This just got really dark.
Our Snapchat's dark.
Out of the shadows.
No, I'm just kidding. Oh, fun.
As always, this is Kyle.
Marley.
And this has been a critique on the universe of movies.